Hey there, kiddos! Today we're going to do a couple of number stories together, which you know I love. So grab your things and we'll get started. Okay, let's read this first one together. There were 6,020 spectators at a sports game. 3,860 of them were ducks, and 2,020 of them were snails, and the rest of them were mice. We want to know how many mice were there. We're going to start with our answer statement, and I'll do that in cursive. If you haven't started a cursive program yet at home, I highly recommend it. Now we could say at the game. You don't have to, but I will. There were blank mice at the game. There we go. Okay, now we can use some bar models to show our thinking and to help us solve this story. What we know is that there were a total of 6,020 spectators. That's how many there were all together. But we've got ducks, snails, and mice. Do you think that we will do a comparison problem here or a continuous bar? It will be a continuous bar because these are all part of the same thing, the spectators. So we're going to show, I'm going to just do one long continuous bar and then we'll break it up. Okay. So here we have our total. And in my house, we love to call this bracket a doohickey. So I drew a doohickey for us, and that's going to show our total of 6,020. And you know, you could also show the total down here. We're going to show that we have 3,860 ducks. I'll put a D here for the ducks. And we've got snails. Whoa, have we got snails? 2,020 snails, and I'll put an S here for snails, and the rest of them were mice. Do we know how many mice there were? We do not. That's our question mark, and we'll put an M here for mice. So this is what we need to solve for. This is a multi-step problem. Now remember, I've encouraged you to have a math journal to work with, and today is one of those days where you'll want to have your math journal out, and you can work the number story right alongside with me. So the first thing I want you to do is label your work. We're going to do step A to begin. So I'd like you to use that uppercase letter A. When I look at this bar, I see that we've got 3 different parts, and I have this total number. To get the answer I want here, I'm going to have to do some subtraction, right? That's true. But I want to know how much to take away from 6,020, and that information is right here. It would be okay to take this number away and then take this number away. But can you see that these 2 parts also can be added together so I know the total amount to take away? We can say we'll add up our ducks and our snails. I'm writing an expression here. Teachers, I'd like students to follow this exact same format. Write the expression, our equal sign comes down here. Let's add those. 0 plus 0 gives me 0. 6 tens and 2 tens will give us 8 tens. 800 plus 0, 800, and 3,000 plus 2,000 gives us 5,000. So we know that altogether there were 5,880 ducks and snails. Now we can say, all right, well, all of the spectators were 6,020, and we will now take this part away to solve for the final part. Some of you might be able to do this mentally. Others of you might prefer to write it out, so we can do that together. It's been a while since we've done multi-digit subtraction with renaming, so we can try that. 0 minus 0 in our ones column is the easy part, right? Then we say, okay, well, I've got some renaming, and I can't come here, so I have to come all the way over here. We're going to rename this as 5,000. We've got 10 in our hundreds column, but right away, we're going to rename those 10 hundreds as 900s. So we can take one of those and move it over. Now I have a total of 12 tens, and I can say 12 minus 8, 900 minus 800, and 5,000 minus 5,000. So our answer is 140. If you like, you can fill it in here, but you definitely want to fill it in here. Teachers, if you are new with me this time around in level 4, we do write our answer a couple of times. We want students to get comfortable doing the work, and then writing the answer in the answer statement. The writing of the answer statement is simply taking this question, the final question, and making it a statement so that students can succeed in knowing what it is they're actually solving for. And we want to make sure we follow all the steps every time. All right, I've got one more for us. Okay, now we're in a pet store, and the pet store has 1,250 dogs. Can you imagine all that? Woof, 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 woof. And they have 295 more cats than dogs. Wow, wow. How many dogs and cats are there all together? We're going to use our bar models to help us think through how to solve this one. Okay, well, up here we know how many dogs there are, but is that the total number altogether? It isn't. And this information here, there are 295 more cats, tells us what we have is what we call a comparison problem. So let's show first our dogs. That number, dogs, we can write right in there if we like, 1,025. Do we know how many cats we have? We don't know how many cats we have, but we know that the amount of cats is 295 more than the dogs. So we can start off our problem with bars that are equal size, equal shape, and equal value. Teachers and students, will you say that with me again? We're going to start off because we have a comparison problem with bars that are equal size, equal shape, and equal value. Will you put little words, size, shape, value, when I say it like that? Yeah. So I know that the total in this part of my cat bar is also 1,025. And my story tells me, though, that there are more by 295. This is so cool because now we can solve for the amount of cats altogether, which gets us to our final statement of how many dogs and cats there are all together. So we've done our little doohickey here. This is our final answer that we're looking for, but this is the first step. So remember, teachers and students, I like us to label this as step A. How can we solve for the amount of cats that we have? Yeah, and students, if you need to, because I reminded you that this is the value of this bar, you can write it in there. And now we easily can see our first equation, 1,025 plus 295. Now feel free to think of this as 300 if you'd like, because it's so close to 300. We would have been adding 5 extra. Let's just put that 5 out here. We'll have to take 5 away. So if I think of this as 300, then I can simply write 1,325, but I've actually added 5 too many. So we're going to take that 5 away. This tells us the number of cats we have, so I like to include the information that I've just solved into my bar. Now I can see that in order to solve for the altogether part, I'll add this 1,320 to my original number of my dogs, 1,025, and I think we can work that out mentally. 5 plus 0 gives me 5. 2 tens plus 2 tens, 4 tens. This one's pretty easy here. 300 plus, we don't have any hundreds there at all. And then the 1,000 plus 1,000. What? 2,345 dogs and cats all together. Can you just hear all that meowing and barking going on in that place? Wow, I gotta go get myself a dog and a cat after that. Well, kiddos, this is the beginning of some of the complicated word number stories that we'll be getting into, and I really want for you to work well with your teacher to go through the simple steps I'm showing you, not because you always need the steps to solve the story, but because I want you to learn the steps accurately, carefully, and systematically. These stories become more complex, and those of you who stay with me and go through these steps will really have an easier time as you move into the trickier number stories, okay? Alrighty, you guys have an excellent day today, and I'll see you back here next time.